242 meters in the medium wave band, this is Radio Scotland. That was the call sign of a station that broadcasts music, entertainment and feature programs every day to listeners not only in Scotland, but all over the British Isles and Europe, from a ship moored just off the coast, not far from Troon. The ship was the Comet, a former Irish lightship built at John Brown's famous yard on the Clyde. When the Comet took up a position on the crest of the waves in late December 1965, experts immediately boarded her to complete the installation of electronic equipment, which was started earlier in the Channel Lines. And at 10 minutes to midnight in Hogmanay 1965, Radio Scotland was born. This film is, as far as we know, the only remaining film of that boat and its people. Here we are on the tender that faithfully serviced the Comet most days when it could get through because of the choppy seas. It supplied the ship with all the necessary food and, as you saw earlier, drink. And there's the Comet. The first sight of the Comet from the tug. The disc jockeys on board the ship worked a shift system where they were on board for several weeks and off board for 1 week. So you can imagine the arrival of the tender was something of an event. On board there you can see Mel Howard, and a very youthful Richard Park, complete with sideburns and glasses. Let's go downstairs to the studio where Tony Allen is just about to start another program.
Hi, hello, and welcome from me, Tony Allen. Might be more familiar to many of you as the mighty...
In those days, cartridges weren't used for commercials and station identifications. Everything was on reel-to-reel tape. The studio used Garrett 301 turntables and Ferrograph tape recorders by and large. Tony Allen was just one of the many disc jockeys who sat in that little studio and broadcast to the people not only of Scotland, but Northern Ireland and the north of England and the Isle of Man as well.
A great summer, we've had barbecues on deck and midnight swims, everything like that on the Comet off of Dunbar.
Baby's good to me, you know she's happy as can be, you know she said so.
Upstairs in the galley, the crew and off-duty disc jockeys would have their lunch or their tea or whatever. In the transmitter room, the transmitters were constantly being supervised, and in the newsroom, the newsreader would read the bulletins and some of the commercials as well.
I feel fine. I'm so glad that she's my little girl. She's so
Part of the Radio Scotland record library.
that her baby
A further stock of records was kept in Radio Scotland House, but we'll be visiting there in just a minute. Meanwhile, we've got to get back onto dry land, and that means back into the tender and back over the Irish Sea. This was the start of the journey home for disc jockeys who were being relieved for their spell ashore. And we'll be following Tony Allen as he returns to dry land and into the Cranworth Street studios to make a program there. There you can see Tony being met on the quay at Troon by some faithful followers of 242. So now to Glasgow, to Cranworth Street in the city's West End, home of Radio Scotland House. And in Radio Scotland House, we meet the man who set up Radio Scotland, the man whose dream the station was, Tommy Shields. Formerly a publicity manager for Scottish television, Tommy set up Radio Scotland on his own initiative and ran it until the station finally went off the air in 1967. Sadly, Tommy never recovered from the upset of losing his radio station and died of a broken heart 6 months after the station went off. Radio Scotland House not only housed an extra set of studios for recording land-based programmes, but all the administrative staff who were necessary to run a radio station, including, of course, the sales department, whose task it was to go out and sell the advertising time. Downstairs in the studio, you can see that a similar set of equipment was used: ferrographs, Garrod 301 turntables,
Use Vitalis. The hairdressing looks clear.
and curiously, not a self-drive operation. A director and a sound engineer would sit through in the control room, and they would pass their instructions through the glass window to the disc jockey or presenter or announcer or whatever through in the main studio. This was the studio from which the 1 o'clock gang originated. You may remember Scottish television had a 1 o'clock gang every day for many, many years. Well, Radio Scotland revitalised that idea and brought them back together again. Just one of the many things that happened on 242.